The first thing anyone noticed wasn't the boy. It was the shoes. They were split at the sides, the soles worn so thin they seemed to fold with every step. One lace was missing, replaced by a frayed piece of string tied in a stubborn knot. On a cold morning in downtown Chicago, where polished glass buildings reflected ambition and wealth, those shoes didn't belong. But the boy wearing them walked in anyway. He pushed open the heavy doors of the bank, pausing for just a second as warm air wrapped around him. People in suits stood in neat lines. Phones buzzed. Pens scratched across paperwork. The quiet hum of money being moved, counted, and controlled filled the space. And then came the looks. Quick ones at first, then longer. A security guard near the entrance straightened, watching closely. A woman clutching her purse shifted away slightly. The boy noticed, but he didn't stop. He kept walking toward the front desk, his hands tucked into the pockets of a faded hoodie that had clearly been washed too many times. His name was Malik Johnson. He was 12 years old, and he had come for something important. "Can I help you?" the receptionist asked, her voice polite but edged with uncertainty. Malik nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I want to check my account." The woman blinked. For a moment, she looked like she wasn't sure she'd heard him correctly. "Your account?" "Yes, ma'am," he repeated, standing a little straighter. "My savings account." A man standing behind him let out a quiet chuckle. Another joined in. It wasn't loud, but it didn't need to be. The receptionist hesitated, then forced a smile. "Do you have an ID or account number?" Malik carefully pulled a small, worn envelope from his pocket. It was creased and soft from being handled so often. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a card. He handed them over with both hands like it mattered, because to him it did. "Just a moment," she said, glancing at the information before typing into her computer. As she worked, whispers began to ripple through the lobby. "Kid's got an account? Probably a few dollars. Maybe he's in the wrong place." Malik kept his eyes forward. He had heard worse, much worse. Words didn't break him anymore, but doubt still tried. Had he come to the wrong place? Should he have waited? Should he have asked someone else to come with him? No. He shook the thoughts away. This was his responsibility. After a moment, the receptionist's expression shifted, just slightly. Her eyebrows pulled together, confusion flickering across her face. She glanced at the screen again, then at Malik. One moment, please." She picked up the phone and spoke quietly. Within minutes, a tall man in a tailored suit stepped out of a glass office. His name tag read Branch Manager Daniel Whitaker. He walked over with a practiced smile, the kind meant to reassure, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hi there," he said, looking down at Malik. "I'm told you'd like to check your account?" "Yes, sir," Malik said. Whitaker glanced briefly at the screen. The receptionist turned toward him. At first, his expression didn't change. Then, he laughed. Not kindly, not softly. A short, dismissive laugh that carried just enough for others nearby to hear. "Well," he said, straightening his tie, "this must be some kind of mistake." A few people nearby smirked. Someone muttered, "Told you." Malik felt his chest tighten, but he didn't move. "It's not a mistake," he said quietly. Whitaker's smile thinned. "Son, accounts like this don't just appear. There are processes, documentation." "I have documentation," Malik interrupted, his voice still calm but firmer now. He reached into the envelope again and pulled out another folded paper. "My mom kept everything." The word mom hung in the air for a second. Whitaker sighed, clearly impatient, but took the paper anyway. "All right, let's take a look." He unfolded it. And then everything changed. The color drained from his face first. Then came the silence. Not just from him, from the entire space around them. It was subtle at first, like a shift in the air. Conversation slowed. Heads turned. Whitaker leaned closer to the paper, then to the screen, then back again. "No, that can't be right," he murmured. But it was. The balance displayed on the screen wasn't small. It wasn't modest. It was over $400,000. The laughter disappeared instantly. Whitaker's posture changed. His tone followed. "Malik," he said carefully, suddenly respectful, "can you come with me to my office?" Malik hesitated, then nodded. Inside the glass office, the noise of the bank faded. Whitaker closed the door and sat down slowly, still staring at the documents. "Where did this money come from?" he asked, no longer condescending, just confused. Malik sat across from him, his worn shoes barely touching the floor. My mom, he said. She cleaned houses. Worked 2 jobs sometimes. She said she was saving for something important. Whitaker looked up. For what? Malik swallowed. For me. The room fell quiet again. She passed away last year, Malik continued, his voice softer now. Cancer. Before she died, she told me there was an account. Said I should come when I was ready. I didn't know how much was in it. I just knew it mattered. Whitaker leaned back in his chair, the weight of the moment settling in. All this time, he said slowly, she was saving... This much? Malik nodded. She didn't spend on herself ever, even when things were hard. He glanced down at his shoes. She always said, one day you won't have to struggle like I did. Whitaker looked at the boy differently now, not at his clothes, not at his shoes, but at him. What are you planning to do with it? He asked. Malik didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was steady. First, I want to fix our house. It's falling apart. He paused. Then I want to help Miss Carter down the street. She's old and her roof leaks every time it rains. Whitaker blinked. You want to give it away? Not all of it, Malik said quickly. But some. Mom always helped people, even when we didn't have much. She said, kindness grows when you share it. The words landed harder than anything else that morning. Outside the office, people were still watching. When the door finally opened, Malik stepped out first. The room felt different now. The same people who had whispered, before now avoided his eyes or looked at him with something else entirely. Respect. Whitaker followed, his expression composed but changed. He walked Malik back to the counter personally. Is there anything else you need today? He asked, his voice carrying clearly this time. Malik thought for a moment. Then he smiled, a small, genuine smile. Yeah, he said. Can I get a printout? I want to show my teacher. She always says numbers tell stories. Whitaker nodded. They do. As the paper printed, the room remained quiet. Malik took it carefully, folding it the same way his mother used to fold important things. As he turned to leave, the security guard by the door gave him a nod. A real one, and for the first time that morning, no one looked at his shoes. They saw him. Outside, the cold air greeted him again, but it didn't feel as heavy. Malik walked down the steps of the bank, the envelope tucked safely in his pocket. Cars passed. People hurried by. The world kept moving, but something had shifted. Not just inside the bank, but inside him. Because the money mattered, yes, but what mattered more was what it meant. A mother's sacrifice, a quiet, relentless love, and a future built not just on wealth, but on kindness. Malik adjusted his worn-out shoes and kept walking. He wasn't in a hurry. He had time now. And more importantly, he knew exactly what he was going to do with it.